Okay, this is cause number 2020 CR 0564, 0565, and 2020 CR 0555. The state of Texas versus Daniel Valdez. Attorneys, please make your announcements for the record.
Madeline Foster for the state.
Deborah Stantonberg for the defendant, Daniel Valdez, Your Honor.
Mr. Valdez is appearing by video conference. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Mr. Valdez, and tell me your full name for the record.
Daniel Valdez, Your Honor.
I understand that,
Okay.
but I do not do drugs.
It's a little noisy, but where you're at, Mr. Valdez, so mute yourself until it's your turn to
I'm an electrician.
testify if you're called to testify.
Yes, Your Honor.
I have a state test.
Thank you. All right. On cause number 0564, there's a plea bargain agreement. It is a cap of 12 opposed to his applications concurrent with 0565 and 0555. So basically, he took a plea on the ag assault against a public servant, ag assault against a public servant, and evading arrest or detention in a motor vehicle. The state is also going to dismiss 3 other felonies in consideration of this plea. I have read the PSI report. I have read the TAP report. I have read all of the letters in support that were filed by Ms. Burke in her exhibits. Ms. Burke, do you have any witnesses you'd like to call?
We don't have any witnesses to call, Your Honor. That's why I presented everyone's statements to the court for consideration beforehand. But I do have argument, and I think the state has witnesses to call, so I'll wait for argument.
Okay, state, call your first witness.
Can I point out who's in the courtroom before the state begins, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
There's family members in the courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor. They were, many of them were there on Friday, and there are even more of them today. And do you want me to wait until I do my final argument to name who they are? I can wait.
Sure, let's do that. State, call your first witness.
State calls Officer Daniel Campa.
Officer, can you raise your right hand? Campa, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Judge.
Go ahead, state.
Officer Campa, I'm just going to get straight to the point. You were one of the victims in this case, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In our meetings and in discussions, did you have an opportunity to review the limited, very beginning portion of your dash cam from the night of this incident?
I did, yes.
Okay. And your opinion, does it fairly and accurately represent what went on that night?
Yes.
And those limited, few seconds there, does it appear to have been altered in any way?
No, ma'am.
And do you feel it would assist the court in understanding what happened that night and viewing that footage?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, I had previously brought down to the court last week a physical copy, states 1, that has Campa and Thompson's dash cam videos on it. I have it digitally as well to publish to you if that works. I would offer it in the physical form, but would request to publish it digitally if that's okay.
The entire thing is pretty long.
Correct, Judge. I only intend to offer maybe the first, I think, 6 or 7 seconds of Campa's video. It's the full video on there, but only because I didn't redact it down. But
Okay.
I have it here digitally.
Any objection to states 1?
Only question is if this is one of the videos that Madeline presented to me for review earlier, and if so, I don't object. But if it's something new, then of course I would object.
No, it's the same stuff, Deborah. It's just the one video that we could never get to you, and then we finally did, and then the other video. So very brief.
Then I'm not going to object, Your Honor. I have reviewed same. Thank you.
States 1 is admitted. Go ahead and play it.
Judge, do you want me to play it on my end, or?
It's not going to play. It's not going to play in real time. It's significantly slow. Just play it, Diego. Just tell me what timestamps you want me to watch.
It's like it's right after he goes into the turnaround, Judge, and if you have the audio up, you'll hear as soon as it's done.
You don't have to move it, Diego. The family should be able to see it also. I can see it fine from here. Yes, Compa dash cam. See if you can screen share on Diego. See if you can screen share on Zoom and see what happens.
Judge, it's the
I know.
first 49 seconds of the video. That's all. Judge, were you able to hear the audio that went along with that?
Yes, I'm watching it.
Okay, that's all I wanted you to see.
You can stop it. We were screen sharing for some reason. It wasn't showing up on the screen, but were you guys able to see it on your end?
I could see it, Judge, yes.
Okay.
I can see it, Your Honor.
Officer
Ms.
Compa-
Burke, you said no or yes?
Yes, I could see it.
Okay. Okay. All right, you can stop the screen share. Go ahead. Next question.
Okay, Officer Compa, is that was you driving that car that night, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Just briefly walk through court through what was going through your mind as you're making that turnaround and you hear those shots.
So when I heard those shots, I mean, I had to fear for my life, you know, I mean, not knowing where those rounds were going to hit. So, I mean, I don't know if you saw on the camera where it kind of pushes to the right, just for my safety. So that's why I did that. I did fear for my life.
And although the quality is not super great on this video, were you able to view it? Was your viewpoint better that night than what we can see on this dash cam?
Yes.
And what was it that you were seeing as this was happening?
So I did see the muzzle flash, which and shortly right after that, you know, I heard the gunshots.
Have you ever been involved in an incident like this where someone's firing at you in an evading type setting?
No, ma'am.
Has it made an impact on you as a police officer since then?
Yes.
Okay. Tell this court what you feel Daniel Valdez's punishment should be.
I feel he needs to.
Objection, Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor. This is falling into the category of victim impact statement, which I don't believe the court should hear until after a sentence is imposed.
Sustained.
Officer Compa, is there anything else that you would like the court to know about this night?
No, I mean, other than I did fear for my life. No, I mean.
Okay. Did you continue on in this pursuit, or once you were fired at, you stopped?
No, I pursued probably for a short while until we got a secondary or third, I would say third officer.
And you're part of the pursuit. Would you say that it kind of went across San Antonio, or were you sort of in a localized area?
No, it went, you know, across town.
Okay. And was the defendant traveling at the speed limit?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did you have, even when you were pursuing him as he's firing at you, did you have your lights and sirens on?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. Was your patrol vehicle hit?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were you hit?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have anything else, Judge. I'll pass it with.
Ms. Burke, do you have any questions?
Yes, just one, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Officer Compa, did you receive my client Daniel Valdez's letter of apology written to you?
Yes, ma'am, I received a letter.
Okay. And did you receive it in the mail at the police department, or did Madeline, the prosecutor, tender it to you?
Madeline presented it to me.
Well, please know that an actual copy has been mailed to you by regular mail, so you'll have your own copy that my client asked me to send to you.
Okay, yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
I have nothing further, Judge.
Call your next witness.
The state would call Officer Troy Thompson.
Officer Thompson, where are you?
I'm here.
I see you. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, state.
Officer Thompson, I know you heard Officer Campa's testimony, so in the same vein, I'll get to the point. Were you involved in one of the victims that Daniel Valdez, or in the Daniel Valdez incident on the night that we're hearing question for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What part of town were you driving in, or at what point did you join the pursuit?
I got into it near Perrin Bible and 410.
Okay. But you were not as a part of the initial pursuit, correct?
No, ma'am. We went to assist.
Okay. At some point, you got into the lead position in the pursuit, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you riding alone?
No, ma'am. I had a partner with me.
Okay, and who was that partner?
John Raymond Castro.
Okay. At what point did you, if you, at what point did you come into contact with him? Do you remember?
As far as getting into the pursuit or actual?
Yeah, I guess so, yes.
Yeah, we were listening to what was going on and we went to assist. Being that I was pit certified, that's why we decided to take the lead, because we were going to try to terminate that pursuit with a pit maneuver. But when a firearm was displayed, that's when we decided we weren't going to do that after all.
Okay, and the
So,
pit,
but that was it. I'm sorry.
the pit maneuver was an effort, or at least one of the efforts to attempt to take him down or to stop him, right?
That's what we were going to attempt. And then a supervisor canceled that, said we weren't going to do that just because a firearm was being displayed.
Okay, and at some point during your pursuit, was Valdez driving the speed limit? Was he driving safely on the highways?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review the dash cam video? I know that your partner has, because I met with him the other day, but I don't know if you have.
No, ma'am, I was not able to.
Okay. Then I would offer that video under the other officer, Your Honor. Can you walk the court through what you saw that night?
Well, it's kind of hard to describe a pursuit, but I recall there were a few instances where we thought maybe, we could get close enough to attempt a pit. And that's when the defendant pointed a handgun back at us out the window.
Okay. Was your vantage point that night, could you visibly see the firearm?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it pointed at you or was it pointed up?
It was pointed at us at one point. I saw his hand come out and I used my spotlight to shine it on whatever he was holding. And that's when I realized it was a handgun.
Okay. What ran through your mind that night when you saw that handgun?
A lot of things, that's when we could kind of backed off a little bit, just trying not to get shot, honestly.
Okay. What would you like this judge to know, I guess, about that night?
It was, with 13 years on this department almost, it was probably one of my most intense ones.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
May it please the court.
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Thompson, I am just wondering, did you receive the letter of apology that my client, Daniel Valdez, has written to you?
No, ma'am, I did not. I have seen a copy of it, but I didn't receive it.
Okay.
It might be in my city email, but I haven't checked that yet.
Okay.
I'll get on it.
I just want you to know that a copy has been mailed to you at SAPD headquarters. And are you telling the court you have read the letter? You see your name is at the top.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. That's all that I have to ask.
Nothing further, Judge.
Any other witnesses?
Yes, Judge, the state would call John Raymond Castro, Officer John Raymond Castro.
John Raymond Castro. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Officer Castro, in the same vein, I will get to the point. You were one of the victims that night, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in you and I's meeting, did you have an opportunity to review your dash cam?
Yes.
Did it fairly and accurately, well, it's not your dash cam, I guess it's technically Thompson's dash cam, but the dash cam of the vehicle that you were riding in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did it fairly and accurately represent what went on that?
Yes, ma'am.
That it appeared to have been altered in any way?
No, ma'am.
And do you feel it would fairly assist the court in perceiving what went on that night if they were able to review
Yes, ma'am.
it? Judge, I know it's been previously admitted, but that would be the other video file on States 1. And it is the on-screen timestamp of about 12:43.
Okay, we have 12:43 on, we'll put it up.
May it please the court?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just making sure that this is a video that Madeline has presented to me previously.
It is.
It's the
Okay.
same exhibit, Ms. Burke, as
Okay.
before, just a different file.
Okay, as long as
No,
she has given it
the other
to
one.
me, then we're fine. We don't object.
12:43, that one. Madeline, is that the correct place?
No, Judge, it's going to be the timestamp that flashes on the screen. See, 12:44:48. You're already
Yeah.
past it.
No, she's talking about the timestamp on the dash cam that's flashing in front of you. So it's 12:48 PM or AM. Go back to 12:43 AM. Nope. That's fine. Leave it there. We're starting it at 12:42. I see it.
That's going to be it, Judge.
Okay. Any other questions for this witness?
Just briefly, Judge, Officer Castro, in viewing that, were you able to perceive the weapon that night? I know you were in the passenger seat.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
What, if anything, do you remember about that gun?
I could see it very clearly. I had Officer Thompson spotlight that driver's side. When we noticed the gun, I could see the barrel of that gun. That's how close we were.
What, if anything, did you do when you saw that?
I grabbed Troy, Officer Thompson, pulled him, and I said, "Hey, pull off." I tried to grab him and pull him down just in case he started firing rounds.
Okay. What, if anything, were you feeling when you saw that happen?
It was a lot of emotions. Obviously, fearing for my life and my partner's life. But it's something I've seen before with, Officer Decker. I think, with the other officer who was first shot at, or who was shot at, it could have played out any different way. I mean, if it would have hit his windshield, it would have been a different case that we've been, we'd be on.
Okay. And is there anything else you would like this judge to know?
Know that, I think with this incident, there are many lives that were put at risk, not only with this high speed in the residential area, but on the highway, not including the officers that were involved.
Okay. I don't have anything else, Judge. I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a question. Good morning, Officer Castro.
Good morning, ma'am.
Were you able to receive and review the letter of apology that my client, Daniel Valdez, has written to you and the other officers?
Via email, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'd like for you to know that letter has been mailed to you directly to SAPD, so you're actually going to get your own copy.
Okay, ma'am. Did you say it was written by him?
Yes.
Okay.
And signed by him.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. No
Yes,
further
ma'am.
questions.
Any other witnesses?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor, just argument.
Ms. Burke, you said you wanted to do something before argument.
Yes, Your Honor. May I please point out who the people are in the courtroom to the court?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd ask that they stand up when I say their name. Francisca Valdez, the mother of Daniel Valdez.
Mhm.
Andres Valdez, his father.
Mhm.
Michelle, who is the grandmother to Daniel's two youngest babies. Francisca's sister, Rosa Soto. Desiree Trevino, who is the mother of of Daniel Valdez's oldest son. His name is Andrew. And Uriel Rios is here. These are all family members. And I would point out to the court that we had more people present. We had more people present on Friday. Remember, this case was set Friday, but we recalled it for today. So all of Daniel's brothers were here on Friday, but they're working and they couldn't all show up today. So this is just another example of the family support that he has, Your Honor. Thank you. And I'd ask everyone to sit down.
Arguments?
Okay. May I go first?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Glad the court has had the time to review what I'll call my little sentencing packet, because everybody in Daniel's life has written a letter to the court asking you to please consider probation. As you know, my client has been in jail for going on 20 months now. And during that time, I'm so proud to be able to have shown to the court that he has availed himself of all of the classes and programs in the jail to help better himself and to help him make better decisions in his life. And I'm sure the court saw Exhibit E in my sentencing packet, which reflected all of the classes he's completed and he's still enrolled in. So that shows you that he knows that he had to get his life back on track. and has utilized this time while being incarcerated in the Bexar County Jail to accomplish that goal. I noticed that in the TAP evaluation, it was recommended that he go to SATA and then aftercare treatment and then outpatient treatment programs. My client does admit that he has a drug and alcohol addiction problem, and he does want to treat those illnesses because he never wants anything that comes near to this to ever happen again in his life. And the court surely noticed that. His only criminal history is a deferred adjudication on a DWI, and he also has 2 possession of marijuana cases. Misdemeanors are his only history prior to this incident, and I'd ask the court to please take that into consideration. I'd also like to point out that Daniel has a job waiting on him at A&A Automotive. We put a letter from the owner of A&A Automotive in the packet, and I do believe that's his brother or his dad, Andres Auto Repair. There was another letter that I thought was particularly important. It was from Geraldine Iregas Peters. She's a longtime family friend, and she was the employer of Francisca Valdez, my client's mother. And she has seen Daniel grow up from an infant because his mom, Francisca, used to bring Daniel to her home when she was working for her. And so she's seen him grow and mature, and she knows how much he's done to help family members and in the community. And so everybody who wrote a letter knows the real Daniel Valdez, but an ugly version of Daniel Valdez popped out the night of this incident. And that ugly version is never gonna show up again, because no matter what the court does with Daniel, he has changed his life already. But he's asking that the court give him a chance to be on deferred probation because he's been in jail already almost 20 months. And his children miss him, his family misses him, he misses them, and he knows that he can never make a mistake like this again. Thank you, Your Honor.
State.
Judge, just sort of starting at the beginning, I know the court takes very seriously and due diligence in reviewing stipulations. And in our stipulated evidence, I think obviously there's some very beneficial things in all of the officer statements that I would hope that the court has reviewed. One of the things that I think is also telling, not to mention, but the methods of which SAPD took to curtail and stop Daniel Valdez that night. There was literally nothing left that they could do to stop him when he eventually did stop, but then begins to run on foot. The evidence that the state stipulated to the court, that was the cases that were TIC'd, sort of the events that put this into place. This wasn't by his version in the PSI, an argument that started outside of the location. Somebody started to get involved. He got so scared that he went to his car and got his gun. He shot in the air. And then when the police got there, he got so scared that he drove off, and the police were chasing him. So he threw the gun out the window and it fired off, right? So what Mr. Valdez did, in addition to not really taking responsibility in the PSI, is he left out all of the violent things that went on before the cops got involved, where he's pulling this woman by her hair and putting a gun to her head and telling her, albeit she was saying, and the police reports notate how intoxicated she was, but I don't know that any of them were sober that night. And she said, he pointed it at my head, and she said that he told her if she ever left, she would feel what it was like with a gun to her head. The woman that's with them, who also was victimized by Daniel Valdez, gave an accurate description, most likely, of what happened that night, that he was punching her and made her fall to the ground. The mother of his children, of which I assume those parents in the courtroom right now, that's one of them's child, or the siblings of the grandchildren that they had. That's this man who beat the mother of his children. And arguably, by that woman's admission, beats her all the time.
Objection, Your Honor, that's not in the police report.
It is, Deborah. It's in the prosecution guide. So the events of that night aren't in question. You know, as he flees the scene, we know that he shoots at Officer Campa 3 times. Officer Campa said he hears the shots. What's running through his mind? You know, he's scared for his life. Daniel Valdez doesn't stop. He continues his pursuit all across San Antonio, endangering not just every police officer who was involved's life, but also all of those citizens who were in those neighborhoods, sleeping in their homes as he barreled through their neighborhoods, attempting to evade police as well. You know, then he goes on to Wurzbach and he points the gun at not only another officer, but 2 officers, and continues on his pursuit. None of which, like I said, in the PSI, has he taken responsibility for. What he wants the court to know, and in that 80-page sentencing memo that Ms. Burke submitted, or give or take some pages, he's not a bad guy. Every one of those letters is eerily similar. He's a good guy, let him have probation. They all say the same thing, right? He has kids, he needs help. He had kids the night he did this. He had kids the night that he was on, as through his own admissions, alcohol, cocaine, marijuana, ecstasy, and Xanax. He had those children. Sorry, Judge, my light just turned off. He had those children that night, and he wasn't worried about taking care of them that night or being sober for them that night. Why he's worried about it now, the state's position and our argument, is that he got caught. He got caught assaulting these women, pointing a gun at 3 different and firing at 1 officers in San Antonio, endangering people, and now he wants a second chance. He epitomizes the danger to society because, as the court has said before, there are different types of defendants. Defendants who have a drug problem and need treatment. Defendants who are dangerous and maybe don't accept they have a drug problem, or they don't have a drug problem. Daniel Valdez perhaps does have a substance abuse problem, but he falls into the category of a hybrid, where he is such a danger that when exposed to the substances, or when given the opportunity to use those substances or be in the free world, this is what he did. And some of those letters, and in sort of addition to Ms. Burke's argument, he was charged with assaulting that woman in October of 2019, just a few days prior to this incident. So the other people in some of their letters stated that he hadn't had any criminal history. That case is still pending. So just so that the court knows, although I know it is in the tab. You know, he's confident he can complete it. He's confident that if you just give him the chance, that he'll be a better guy and he'll get out in the free world and he'll do all of these things, Judge. And what that's going to do is, if he has a chance to be out in the free world, he's going to have another chance to shoot at another officer. Maybe he won't miss this time. He may have taken classes in the Bexar County Jail, and he is certainly, hopefully, sober in the Bexar County Jail. But I don't think you get credit for not having a criminal history prior to this. I don't think you get credit for cleaning up your act once you're in custody. The events of that night were severe. All 3 of the officers are here to testify to the court that their life was in danger that night. The court is very familiar, I'm sure, with Officer Deckard, as well as Officer Sepulveda, where this happened just a few months ago in 2021. He's absolutely a danger to society. I understand that he has family support, but he had all that family support then, and it didn't make any difference. So we are asking this court to please send him to prison and to hit the cap on our plea deal. Thank you.
Mr. Valdez, I need you to unmute yourself so we can talk.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to just tell you straight up, this is not a probation case. I'm not going to grant probation. And I need you to listen to me why. The officers, whether they came to testify or sent me an email or sent me a letter, it's not going to change what I'm going to do. I firmly believe officers are trained in their job to respond to the situation that they're in. And it seems to me like that night they responded to the situation they were in. But there are 2 letters of the entire packet that really stood out, that really speak to what I'm about to do. Your mom's letter said, "Those officers respected my son's life that night." They sure did. They absolutely did respect your life.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I'm happy that you've apologized to them, but they did respect your life that night. This could have ended in a completely different way. Your son, I believe his name is Drew. He says he misses you, that he can't hug you, that he can't go to the park. My sentence, although it's a prison sentence, is going to give you an opportunity to get back to your family, because you obviously have a lot of family support. I don't think in the 30 months of being a judge that I have seen so many letters of support. I think Ms. Burke has set a new record with that. And I read every single one of them. I read them all.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
And I do commend you because you did use the time the past 20 months to do something, to reflect on what you've done. But Mr. Valdez, the most urgent thing to me about this case is that when you shot the gun on that turnaround, as you were coming up to get onto the highway to merge, there was some cars in the area where you were shooting. There was some other people. There was a white car that I saw. I don't know if it was white. It looked white. Parallel, riding alongside you. Now, those people are the people that I need to protect because they didn't ask for it. They didn't get involved in it. They were just driving on the highway, and you could have injured them with a bullet. You could have killed them with the bullet. You could have killed them with your car. For that, you need to go to prison and think about your actions. Okay? So the sentence today is 6 years to do. In cause number 2020 CR 0564, I do find the evidence is sufficient to substantiate your guilt. I'm going to find you guilty of the offense of aggravated assault with a against a public servant. I make an affirmative finding that a deadly weapon was used in the commission of this crime. This matter, and it is 6 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. You do get credit for all the time you have been in custody on this case. This matter will run concurrent with 2020 CR 0565 and the evading arrest 2020 CR 0555. This is a plea bargain case, Mr. Valdez. I did follow your plea bargain agreement. You do not have a right to appeal. In cause number 2020 CR 0565, I find the evidence is sufficient to substantiate your guilt. I find you guilty of the offense of aggravated assault against a public servant, and I will sentence you to 6 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. You get credit for the time you have been in custody on this case. I also make an affirmative finding that a deadly weapon was used in the commission of the crime. This will run concurrent with 2020 CR 0564 and 2020 CR 0555. This is a plea bargain case. I did follow the plea bargain agreement. You do not have a right to appeal. In cause number 2020 CR 0555, I find the evidence is sufficient to substantiate your guilt, and I find you guilty of the offense of evading arrest or detention in a motor vehicle. And I will assess punishment at 5 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. You get credit for the time you have been in custody. And I apologize. It's 6 years, not 5. It's 6 years all across the board. This is a plea bargain case. I did follow your plea bargain agreement. You do not have a right to appeal. Do you have victim impact statement to present, State?
Judge, I didn't ask him. Officers, is there anyone that would like to speak in addition to your testimony?
I don't.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thompson?
No, ma'am.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Burke, do you need to confer with your client?
Yes, could you please put me in a breakout room with him? And thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Judge, may all my officers be excused?
Yes.
Thank you, officers.